We're going to continue to study basics of the Torah. And I am in this little booklet, Precedence of Torah Commands. And it says, "You shall not turn aside to the right or to the left." So let's talk about that a little bit. This is a very important concept in the Torah as far as interpretation of the Torah. So there's a lot of people that they read a little bit of the Torah and then they say, well, that's stupid, and they reject it, right? The problem is the interpretation. The interpretation is stupid. And there's a lot of stupid interpretation of the Torah. And this concept, turning to the right or the left, is going to really help us to interpret it correctly so that it's a practical system. Deuteronomy 5:32 reads, "You shall observe to do therefore as the Lord your God has commanded you. You shall not turn aside to the right or to the left." So we have a path, a straight path. That's the one that we're supposed to be doing. And to get off of that path, you can go either to the right or to the left. Now, basically what this means is that, for example, in our 10 categories of commandments, it mentions that we're not supposed to murder. You shall not murder, right? But then later on it says if this guy disobeys the law, then you're supposed to stone him, right? Or you're supposed to go in and kill all the Canaanites. Okay, so here you have a command that says that you're supposed to kill people on the one hand, and on the other hand, you have a command that says you're not supposed to kill. So what is going on here is that these commands taken together are showing you the straight path. On the one side of the path is killing innocent people. Okay? On the other side of the path is not killing guilty people. Okay? So by understanding both of them together, you understand what the straight path is. And this is very important for the interpretation of the scripture, because if you look at just one of them, you're going to get the wrong idea. There's a lot of pacifist religions out there that say you're not supposed to kill anybody, okay, which violates certain passages of the Torah. You're supposed to defend people that are being attacked, okay? If you're in a pacifist interpretation and you're only looking at the passage that says you shall not kill, then you're going to let that guy come in and rape and kill your family, which is not right according to Torah. And by understanding the left and the right, you can interpret this correctly. So let's look at that a little bit. This is first used in Exodus 14:22 in a concrete way. "And the sons of Israel went into the midst of the sea upon dry ground, and the waters were a wall unto them on the right and on the left." This is when they crossed the Red Sea. And so this is giving us a concrete picture of the fact that if you don't go to the left, you can still get in trouble by going to the right. Okay? Let's jump down to Deuteronomy 17:11. Deuteronomy 17 deals with how to make judgments Making judgments is very important. It is a way of saying making interpretations of the scripture. So in verse 11 it says, according to the sentence of the Torah, which they shall teach you or point out to you, and according to the judgment which they shall tell you, that's the interpretation of that sentence, you shall not decline from the sentence which they shall show you to the right hand or to the left. This is a very, very carefully worded. It's pointing out that when you go and you ask somebody for advice on what does the Torah say, their authority extends only to pointing out what the Torah says. They can't make up new stuff, right? The interpretation is important because they're going to help you to understand that. But when you actually apply this, what are you applying? You're applying the sentence that they showed you. What does that mean? Well, that means that if their interpretation is incorrect, you don't do that. You do what the sentence says. Okay? So, but once you understand what the sentence says in the Torah, you should not turn to the left or to the right. And you're going to have to look at conflicting passages that show you how to not turn to the left, and then other passages that will show you how to not turn to the right. And you put those together, and you have a good interpretation of what the Torah is saying about that subject. Okay, in the blessings passage in Deuteronomy 28, blessings and cursings, it says, this is verse 14, and you shall not go aside from any of the words which I command you this day to the right hand or to the left to go after other gods to serve them. So if you go down the straight path and you interpret both sides of the issue with both sets of passages correctly, then you're going to get the blessings. If, on the other hand, you only take one side of the issue and you ignore the other side of the issue, then you're going to turn to the left or you're going to turn to the right. And in either case, you're going to be wrong and you're going to get the cursings. Okay, Joshua 1:7. Only be you strong and very courageous, that you may observe to do according to all the Torah, which Moshe, my servant, commanded you. Turn not from it to the right hand or to the left, and that you may prosper wherever you go. So here he's saying, telling Joshua to continue to interpret the scripture this way. The word strong there is the word chazak, which means to be fastened. And how are we fastened? We have to latch on to the Torah and hold on to it. If we're going astray and doing other things, then we're going to let go of it, and then we're going to be in a vulnerable position. Being courageous is ametz. It means to be more alert than the enemy. Our enemy is an angel, a demon, and it is much smarter than we are, and it has had thousands of years to study the scripture and to study a lot of other things. And as a result, it's a very difficult enemy. And we have to be more alert than that enemy. In other words, we have to be listening to the Spirit consistently. If we're listening to the Spirit consistently, and if we're using the wisdom of the Torah because we've been diligent students, then we'll be able to handle whatever he throws at us. Okay, just like Yeshua did when he was being tempted by Satan in the desert when he was fasting. Okay. So this is very important because there's a lot of examples in the scripture, and we'll get into this next time, where we are in a conflict not only because you have these two different kinds of passages that are showing the left and the right of an issue, but also because there are situations in this evil world that we live in which are going to cause us to have to sin against one command and in order to do another command. There's a lot of different examples of this in the scripture. But when Yeshua's disciples were picking grain on Shabbat, for example, he points out that this is life taking precedence over Shabbat. And this is a well-known principle within the Talmud, that life takes precedence over ceremony. And so if you are starving on Shabbat, it's okay to pick grain in the field, okay, in order to eat. And so that is the precedence issue, but that's only one issue. There's a whole bunch of issues. And so we need to look at how the scripture, how those kind of conflicts are going to be addressed within the issue of precedence of command, and we'll take that up next time. But for now, just remember that there's whenever you learn the Torah, you have to look at both sides of a question. You have to look at multiple passages on each issue in order to see where is the left and where is the right of that issue in order to do it correctly.